Hi, my name is Randy Shear and I'm a technical curriculum developer here at Jitterbit. And today we are going to dive into a tutorial that is part of our Jitterbit Basics series. Now this series shows how to quickly connect your data systems using the Jitterbit Harmony platform. Now in today's tutorial I'm going to show you how to use the Magento Connector to get customer information and send it to my FTP. First, I'll log into Jitterbit Cloud Studio by going to login.jitterbit.com. and click on the Cloud Studio icon. On the right hand side, you'll see New Project. So I'll click on New Project. The first thing we are presented with when we're looking at the screen is the project name. It is best practice for you to use your organization's naming scheme. So in this tutorial, I'm going to give it the name Magento Customer to FTP. And then I will go down to select my environment, and then I can give it a description if I want to. It is best practice to give it a description. That way you or anyone who works on this project know exactly what's going on and why this project was created. So I will give it the description tutorial for Magento and click Start Designing. Now I am presented here where I can go over to the side, which is the component palette, and I can scroll up and down and look for my Magento connector, or I can click in the search box and start typing out Magento. And I see my Magento connector is the only one there. And I can double click on the Magento connector and begin to configure the Magento connector. So I'm going to go ahead and fill out the information here, my credentials for this Magento connector, and then I will see you after I fill out this information and we'll test the connector to make sure it is correct. All right, I have filled in all of the required information and I will click Test. If this test was successful, I will see a green connection success message, and I see that right now. If it wasn't, I would have seen a red error message, and that means that I need to go back and recheck the credentials that I put in. Seeing that it is green, I'll go ahead and click Save Changes. And then over here, back in the component palette, you'll see several activities. I said I was going to get customer information, so I'll use the get activity. And to do that, I will click on get activity and I will drag it over to the design canvas. And notice that as I get to this plus symbol, it takes the symbol of it and I can just let go and boom, it's right there, ready for us to configure it. So I'll go ahead and name my workflow, and I will name this workflow Get Customer to FTP. And then I also need to configure this activity, so I'll double click to configure the activity. And first thing I'm presented with is to name it. I can leave the name Get, or I can name it something else. So I'll name it Get Customer. And then I need to search for an object. And so what I'm going to do is I can either scroll up and down, look for customer, or I can go over here to the search for an object and I will just type out the word customer. You'll see everything else go away except for things with the name customer in it. And I see customer account management. So I'll click that and click next. Now I need to select the operation. So I will again look for the operation that I need, and it is to get default billing address, and then I'll click next. And now I'm presented with the data schema. I can look to make sure that everything looks correct, which it does. You can notice that there is a request schema and there is a response schema. I'm going to need a transformation before and after. And so we're going to start with the request schema and then move over to the response. So we'll do the request schema first. So I'll go ahead and click finish. I'm using an FTP, so I need to go ahead and configure my FTP. You know, I can either scroll up and down, look for the FTP, or again, I can use the search. So I'll search for FTP. It is the only one there. So I'll double click on it. Again, I need to just go ahead and fill out my host. So I'm going to put in my host information. Type out my username. and then my password. And with all that information put in there, I can test my connector. It's going to take all that information, and I see that my connection was successful, and I'm going to click Save Changes. I am presented now with two activities for the FTP. I see a read and a write. This workflow is actually going to use both, and I'm going to start off with the read. We're going to take a file from our FTP, and it's going to read it for the customer number that I want to get the information for. And so we're going to pass that through the Magento connector and then write the information that comes from the Magento connector to our FTP. So I'll click read, drag it over, and notice that as I get to the other side of the Magento connector, it fits perfectly right there. I'll let go of it and it's ready to go. I'll double click on that connector so I can configure, the activity, so I can configure it, and I see again, the name of it is read. I can name it something different, or I can keep the name as read. And so I'll name it read from FTP, because that's what it's going to do. It's going to read information from the FTP. And to get that file, I need to go ahead and type in that file name. And so that file name is Magento customer ID.csv. And then once that information is in there, I can go ahead and click Next. There is no data schema to look at, and so I'll just simply click Finish. Now, I need to make a link between my FTP and then my Magento connector, or my activity here. So I will hover between the two, click on the plus symbol, and I am presented with either New Script or New Transformation. So I'm going to click on New Transformation. And then I can name this new transformation. And so I'm going to name this transformation Customer ID. And then I will click on Define Schema, and I will create a flat. Again, I'll name this Customer ID, and I will add a field. I can rename the field by clicking in the naming section and delete what's in there, or backspace what's in there. And I'm going to call this Customer ID. It is a string type, and I'm going to click Save Changes. So over here on my source side, I see Customer ID. And on the target side, I see Customer ID, and I'm going to just simply click and drag over here to the other Customer ID and let go. And instantly you see a connection between the two. I can click on it and you'll see it connects to the other side. I will go ahead and click Return to Workflow because that looks great. And so now these 2 points are connected. Now I told you I was going to request some information from my FTP, and then I'm going to deliver some information to my FTP. So I will click back over here, or I'll look back over here in my FTP endpoint, and I will see the write activity, and I'll drag it next to the Get connector. Notice how easy it is. I can just bring it back over here without letting go. And then when I'm ready and I see it's at the proper place, I will let go, and it is now there for me to use. So I will double click on the write activity. Again, I can rename this activity, either use write or use a different naming. So I'll name it write to FTP. Again, my path, I can go ahead and put a slash there if I wanted. But most important is the file name. I need to tell it what to name the file. I will name it customer underscore, and we're going to use square brackets, and this will allow us to dynamically get both date and time of the moment that this particular operation runs. So I'll type in date, close square brackets, underscore, open square brackets again, and I'm going to use time, close square brackets, .xml. And then I'm going to uncheck use FTP rename and click next. Notice that there is no data schema. That's okay. I'm going to click finish. Now again, I'm going to need one more transformation, and that's going to be between get customer and write to FTP. So I'll hover between the two and click new transformation. Now in this case, I want to get all of the information from that I have about this particular customer. So I am going to actually click mirror source schema. And then I can either, in order to map all of these, I can either click on this and drag it over here, which is exactly the same, or I can click auto map exact matches. So I'll click auto map exact matches, and you'll see that it goes ahead and it mapped them all. And of course, I need to name my transformation, and I will name my transformation response get customer, and then return to workflow. So now that I have my entire workflow ready, if I click on, I can click here and that will deploy and run it, or I can click on the three dots and deploy and run. So I'll go ahead and click deploy and run like this. You'll notice up here, you see it's successful, but down here it's submitted. And notice I get the green circle and it says success. And after I sent that information to my FTP, I can log into my FTP and look in the list of files, and I'll see the file called customer_date and time. I can go ahead and click on that file, and it will download that file, and I'll say show in Finder. And then I can go ahead and open that file, and I'll open it with a text editor, and you'll see the customer information. Always know, for deeper training opportunities, you can go to our learning platform, Jitterbit University. You can access it by going to university.jitterbit.com. You will need an enrollment key to access the training content there, and to get that information, reach out to your customer success or alliance manager.